Morning, folks. For me, this is a Friday morning shave, and I'm going to be shaving with the QShave. This is the box that it comes in. On the back, that just said QShave is dedicated to the considerate daily life quality and convenience. We are more than happy to provide you a quality shave with maximum enjoyment in the most convenient and cost-effective way. Then at the very bottom it says time to enjoy shaving. So the box that the razor came in, it comes in with some instructions here, and that's what's inside the box there. The razor was right there, and right there is a pack of QShave blades, and it also came with a pack of Dorco blades. And the razor of the day, there it is. This is a clone of Merkur Future. Today this razor has a feather blade in it. This will be my third shave with this razor. First time with a feather blade in it. First shave was with a Crystal Platinum. Second shave was with a Treat Falcon. And then today is going to be a feather blade. And the very first time I shaved with it on the setting 3. The next time, yesterday in other words, I put it on a setting of 3, then I went 2.5, and I don't know if you can see all that on how the graduation is. Then I went to a 2. And on a setting 2, I just about say that would be the equivalent of a Gillette Tech. It's a very smooth, comfortable shave, but not necessarily the closest shave. One of the reasons why it may not be such a bad idea to get an adjustable, especially maybe if you're starting out. That way you can get used to shaving with a DE razor, get in a good shave, but not one that's going to irritate your skin. Then as you develop your technique, lathering, so on and so forth, then you can adjust accordingly. Some folks will find whatever setting they want and leave it on that setting, and some will graduate. Like I mentioned, you may start with the first pass with a particular setting and then move downwards as the shave goes on. Just depends on what you're after and what you're looking for. Now, I don't own a Merkur Future, so I don't know, I guess you might say, all the ins and outs of the Merkur, but I can tell you that this one here, when you turn to adjust it, there are no clicks to it. And even though you would think that the number 1 would be the lowest setting on here, this particular one, when you turn it, it will stop at the halfway mark. In other words, a 0.5. But when you rotate it around to go to the most aggressive setting, which would be the number 6, there's a stop there, and it will stop at number 6. It will not turn any further than that. But there are no clicks to it. So when you decide wherever you want, you'll have to align your desired setting up with the mark. So in other words, it doesn't click at a halfway point or on the whole number. Just something I don't know if the Merkur does, if it clicks, or it's the same way. Also, if it matters to anybody, these numbers and dots, I guess you might say the markings are what I feel like. Best way to describe it is on the surface of the metal. There's not an indention with paint down inside of it. And I paid, what was it, $17.50. Even though this will only be my third shave with it, can't complain. Works rather nice. It's not necessarily it's a concern with this razor, even from Merkur, for me all along, is that the once you pop the top, and I'll do this down at the end of the shave, you look at what's inside. It could be fun keeping it clean. There's little crevices and whatnot that are not the easiest to get to. So in other words, I use a Q-tip, give it a quick wipe down with the Q-tip on the inside, help keep the soap build up down to a bare minimum. And so there will be a certain amount of cleaning that'll have to be done. The soap of the day is going to is from the Shave Master General, Jonathan Romanoff. Hazelnut Cappuccino. And I am a coffee drinker, so hazelnut, matter of fact, is one of my favorite flavors, if you will. There's the consistency of the soap, and it's a pretty firm soap. And has a it smells just like hazelnut. It smells really nice. And the aftershave I'm going to follow up with is another cappuccino, but it's not hazelnut, and it's from Yulay, and it is butter rum. And boy, this butter rum really smells great. Of course, I got my alum block with a rubber band. Going with Humphrey's Witch Hazel today. I have this whipped up in a small bowl, ceramic bowl with grooves in the bottom of it. This is a brush from, and I'm not real sure how to pronounce the name of the company. It's Yaqi, and this is just one of the brushes that I got from AliExpress. And the cost of one of these brushes with a synthetic knot depends on which one you get. It'll range anywhere from the $6 mark up to about $8, somewhere in there. And this particular bowl's got grooves in the bottom of it. But I got it all whipped up and ready to go here. As a matter of fact, here's another one of those brushes that I got. And it may be kind of hard to tell, but that color is purple. And that's kind of sort of what the knot looks like on that brush there. This one here, I got it because, not only because it's purple, but the unique shape of this one here, where you can just grab it. In other words, it's kind of a unique design. I like the design. Thought it might be comfortable in the hand. I've already put a hot towel to the face, bloomed the soap, and took the soap water, bloom water, and applied it to the face. Go ahead and get lathered here. I have been shaving with some of Jonathan's soaps, and haven't been disappointed yet. The scent it's just rolling right on off of the cream here. It's pretty good that I can smell it. That's another thing too so far with his scents. For me, sometimes the scent is complex. I can tell you I like it. Sometimes I can't tell you what the top notes are or anything of the sort. My nose just, I guess you might say, it's not quite that sophisticated. It doesn't work some days, so I consider myself lucky that I can smell it at all. But I like hazelnut. That's one of my flavors I put in my coffee. If you like coffee. And putting something in your coffee, which I do. Alright, I'm going to start out. I've been starting out with the number 3 and working downwards. And today I felt like I would try 3.5. Start with 3.5 here on the first pass, and then work each pass 1/2 notch downwards. If you've seen my last video with the fine super light slant, it was the feather blade that gave me the best shave out of those 3 blades I just mentioned. But I got a great shave out of both the Treat Falcon and the Crystal Platinum. So it just goes to show that, even though you may have some blades that work well with other razors without a problem, may not always be the case with all your razors. And that's something I learned. I was really surprised that the Crystal, it wasn't a bad shave, but when you get a shave with a blade and a razor combination, you just kind of feel like there's a better setup somewhere out there. And that's how I felt with the Crystal. And Treat Platinum was the Treat Falcon was a little bit better, but still left me thinking there's got to be another blade out there. And feather was just great. On 3.5 with the feather blade, there is a bit more feedback. Still though, very smooth at 3.5. It's pretty nice. I don't shave, as you can tell, under the nose. So the size of this head is not a problem for me. For those that do shave underneath the nose, I've seen plenty of videos where guys have been able to shave underneath the nose with a head this big. It just may be a challenge for you. Yeah, just a little bit of feedback from the blade. Don't recall that on a setting 3 with the previous shaves. It's going to be a good shave, I can already tell. Sometimes when you start out with a shave, especially if you're starting out with a feather and it's very smooth already, typically, you know, you'll watch enough videos, people will mention that it's usually the second or third shave with a feather blade where it's gets more comfortable. And nah, this is comfortable straight out of the gate for me on a 3.5 setting. I am tempted to try the 6 just to see how aggressive it is. And I was kind of thinking maybe I might do that tomorrow, is go for a second use on the feather blade and set it as a 6 just to see how aggressive is it. Is it something I'm interested in shaving with in a setting that aggressive? Or is a setting 6 even that aggressive? I don't think it'd be something I'd probably shave on a regular basis with the setting that high if it's where I think it's at. For me, I'm not looking for a BBS shave as opposed to a smooth and comfortable shave. No irritation, nick free, that sort of thing. Pass number 2 across the grain. Still kind of surprised. How smooth this shave's going. I have shaved with a feather blade in other razors before, and in that particular case, you know, the second and third shave with that blade was a bit smoother. Wasn't quite as edgy, I guess you might say. And to me, it's pretty easy to find what the angle should be with this razor. It wasn't a challenge at all to figure it out. With some razors, with the way they're designed, sometimes it takes a moment or two to figure out what the angle is. This one here is not a problem finding it. Yeah, this is going to be a good shave. Had some really good shaves with the fine super light slant. I was really surprised on how well that shave went. And if you've looked at their box and talking about how it'll glide across your face, it really does. That coating that they put on that that razor, excuse me, I feel like that was the trick to help it glide right across your face. I could see pretty easy how that would be a daily driver. It's a very efficient razor. After the first pass, in other words, if you're running a little bit late in the morning, or if you're just looking for a touch-up before you run out on a hot date or whatever, single pass with the green, There wasn't much left after that. Those subsequent passes were more like touch-ups as opposed to taking off any real growth. Because that first pass, it just, it took quite a bit off. Of course, that's been the story behind the slant razors, that typically after you do that first pass on one that's very efficient, that there's not much left to be taken off. It just slices right through it all. And it didn't feel aggressive either. In other words, it wasn't like the, oh, how can you say? It wasn't like where there's a lot of blade feel. That wasn't the case at all. At least my experience. Now, I've shaved with some pretty aggressive razors where you felt the blade. Very surprising. You know how you look at a razor and you think it would be aggressive, and then you get to shaving with it and the looks were deceiving. The one that doesn't look aggressive is like, oh my gosh, that blade feel is pretty strong. It's not the case on this one here so far. Even at 3.5 with the feather, pretty smooth. I would almost think with an adjustable razor, and maybe not, I'm not a head shaver, but I would almost think, especially with a razor like this one here with the longer handle, that it may not be such a half bad head shaver. I can still smell the hazelnut. Like I say, that's pretty good for my nose. In my opinion, the scent is not strong, but it's consistent. It stays with you throughout the shave. It doesn't dissipate, which is something nice. I don't mind a how you say, a milder or a lighter scent, but I still want to be able to smell it. And typically what ends up happening with a medium or a light scent is that throughout the shave it just kind of goes away on you. And I don't like that. I want the scent to stick with me throughout the shave, and this one does. It's hazelnut. Have you ever drank any coffee with hazelnut? Hazelnut is like that. It'll stick with you throughout the whole shave. I'm going to see what the alum block has to say. I don't think it's going to have much to say, if anything. This is a really smooth shave, even with the setting starting out with a 3.5 on with a feather blade. I have one small spot right back here. Overall though, this is a really smooth, comfortable shave. Really can't complain about this razor. I haven't been able to find, if you want to, how you say, pick at it. For instance, it doesn't click through the settings. It's a smooth turn all the way around till you hit that stop. So if that is something that might bother you, the construction, the quality of it, couldn't find anything wrong with it. Now, if you used it over a long period of time, maybe it might develop an issue. It may not. Right now, I kind of compare it to a Yaqi. I bought 2 Yaqis, and one of them I piffed to my oldest stepson, and it was the one with the longer handle. And then I have one that's the black one, and of course with the shorter handle. Can't find anything wrong with them. They shave just fine. They stay together. Just because they're inexpensive sometimes doesn't always mean that you're buying a poor razor. It does the job. It's a good tool. Over time now, whether it lasts and look as good as a Merkur or the original, only time will tell. Right now, I'd have to say that's a pretty nice shaver there. Kind of glad I went ahead and bought it. what really turned me on to it. I'd seen them before, hadn't thought much of it, and Donald from Wet the Face, he did a review on one. Decided I'd go ahead and give it a try. He was able to get his though at a cheaper rate than what I got mine, the second one that he ordered. Take this aftershave if you're into coffee scents and whatnot. This butter rum cappuccino. I like the butter rum. I like butter rum. It's one of my favorite flavors, even as a kid. Love eating that candy. This has a great scent to it. I really like it. And sometimes I mention it, sometimes I don't. It just depends on the person's, I guess you might say, what they're working with. And here of recent history, what I've been working with is I've been using Cremo, and off and on throughout the week I'll be using the Beard and Scruff, and also the beard balm. And for me, one of the reasons, as you can tell, the color of my whiskers there, this color doesn't have quite the effect on my color of my beard like some others might, where the beeswax will turn it yellow or something like that. This is more of a neutral color. I've noticed that it changes just a tad bit, but not real drastic, like a real yellow in my beard. This way it keeps it natural looking. Yes, I know I look old. It's because I am. But I prefer just to keep my whiskers looking the natural color. To me, I like it like that. Okay, so today we shaved with the, or I did, that is. You didn't, I did. This is a clone. This is a QShave razor. Adjustable. Looks just like the Future, and I don't know weight-wise. Couldn't tell you whether it's close or even how much this one weighs. But it's most of the weight is basically from here forward. Back here doesn't feel like there's quite the weight. So as it goes for balance, you're not going to have equal weight distribution throughout the razor. The bulk of it is going to be right up here. And I did say I was going to do that. I'll go ahead and pop the top. Try to be careful when you do that. This is what I was talking about on the inside. And if you have never used a razor like this, you can just about imagine what it's going to take to keep that clean. Soap is going to get down in there, and it may not be the easiest. And I know this this view is not going to do the justice. What I'm really trying to get at is because once you start to look at the mechanism down in there, you know some soap is going to get down in there. And I don't know, outside of soaking it in hot water like I typically do when I get a used razor, and I'll put it in some hot water with some dish soap, let it sit there for a moment, and that typically loosens a lot of stuff up, and it'll float out in the water as it sits in there. Then of course I'll swish it around in there to help anything else that's loose to float on out there. In other words, cleaning one of these could be a bit of a challenge regardless what the name brand is. Just something to point out if you've never had one before, because this will be my first one. And there's the blade. It just, when you put it in there, it just sits right in there. It's easy to load. If there is ever a concern, is as you can tell, it's in there. So getting it at you, it'd be best to use caution. Be patient. It will come out of there pretty easy once you get past where it pops at. And I've noticed that there, one side seems to be a little bit snugger than the other, and as you tell, it comes right on out. For me, I keep my these little packages because there is a place to put your used blades in there. And once this fills up, I've got another plastic container I've got over there on the side where I put all of them in there, and eventually that container I'll just wrap them up with tape and put them in the trash. But this is what it looks like after I get done shaving. And like I said, I just wipe it down with a Q-tip and go down inside, and I'm done. Just keep them all Looking nice. I do have another soap. I'm thinking I'm going to go ahead and use it tomorrow. And it's from the Shave Master General. And this one here is the hot apple pie. And yeah, this smells just like a hot apple pie. It smells fantastic. And that's what the consistency looks like. I think I'll go ahead and do a video tomorrow. I'm still kind of on the fence on whether I want to try this feather blade tomorrow. I'm leaning more towards I'm going to use a single edge. I've been anchoring to use one of my old gym razors, so I think that's what I am going to do. I'm going to use a gym razor with the hot apple pie tomorrow. Everybody stay safe and smooth shaves to you.